Hi, everybody. Gosh, we're probably really close to the game coming out now. I have these recorded in advance, and just thinking about how far out these videos will post, I'm so excited to be thinking about what we might know already that I don't know at this point. But I'm excited to get into the clips where we're opening the cocoon and looking at some of the medical imaging equipment and trying to figure out a little bit more about what is going on with tomorrow. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And if we've had footage that has come out and debunked all these theories from like the May 8th interviews or anything like that, so sorry, but let's get into it. So, we get our first look at this weird little indention on her skin. It doesn't necessarily look like a cut, but it does seem to sort of bleed like a cut, even though it doesn't appear to have really punctured her. The only thing that seems like she's actually got a hole is the part where the chiralium or the tar is trying to come up. And what I found interesting about this is it resembles the chiral matter that we saw like surrounding the city that we spoke about, look like Mountain Knot City. And we spoke about how that was kind of like a frequency, and the higher the frequency, the higher the black bar. And what makes me curious about this is it's coming up out of her skin, and we know that those frequencies, those black lines, always reach upwards in this game, and these are doing that exact same thing. I think Tarman's tweezers are interesting. They're the kind of tweezers that you often see on like beauty channels where they're like trying to get rid of blemishes or really, really tiny hairs. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if that's really a common tool in medical practice or if this just happens to be something that they're used to dealing with. The other thing is, this reads very much like a poisonous bite or venom of some kind. That's sort of how this scene reads to me, which tells me that there must be something dangerous about whatever has injected her, because we see Fragile is concerned, and even whenever the liquid does end up kind of shooting out, we see that it does age Fragile. Now, what I'm kind of noticing is the goosebumps on Tomorrow's arm. And typically, we associate the cold with BTs or the other side. That's when we see our breath. That's whenever the Magellan is in the seam or the tar currents. We are not blue though, so this appears like we are in the normal world. So it's possible that she's that cold because she's been in that tar cocoon, and possibly it is very cold, just like how the BTs would bring very cold temperatures with them. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting and just kind of, I don't know if it's anything special, but similarly to how we've seen the monsters have like chiral gold sparkles, whenever he does try to pull this like porcupine tar piece out, it sort of like it ejects or spits like a venom out, and with it comes little gold chiral particles, and you can even see it at the very base of her skin that it's a little gold, and then three gold specks, and then it shoots out, which this is really reminiscent of like those fish or squid that can like shoot out ink. And I don't know, that was the first thing I thought of, is like, oh, this feels like a defense mechanism. And so I'm not sure if Tomorrow is being poisoned, or if this is going to end up being like something of her own body that is reacting like defensively to what they've put in her, because they have given her a shot of some sort of medicine, I'm assuming, to push this like poison or whatever out of her body. And then in the next shot, we get a clip of Fragile with the ink on her white glove. And what I thought was interesting is this glove, when it's first hit with the tar, it has like a delayed reaction. And I don't know if that was just meant for us as the viewer to be able to catch on to what was going on and pay attention, or if we are being told through environmental storytelling that there is a lag between how this works. Timefall in the first game automatically turned you old or killed whatever it touched. It was just very much like it touches you and it's instantaneous, its effect. Whereas this sits on her glove for a couple seconds and then spreads out over it, probably um, kind of deconstructing the materials. And then what I thought was interesting is in the first game, Timefall only affects the very first thing it touches. And so that's one of the reasons that you can drink Timefall out of the container that you carry around. It's in like one of the emails, and it basically explains that as long as the Timefall touches the container bottle first, then you can drink it. It's fine. But what we see here is that it touches the glove, then it spreads out on the glove. Um, there's a word that I can't think of right now. It's not deconstructs or destroys. There's some other word that escapes me, but basically it's aging this glove, and then when she takes it off, it has even continued working on her skin, aging her skin. Either I don't know if it's showing her true age or her true skin, because we know that she was aged in the last game, or if it's something else, like maybe whenever this gets on you, um, you are your skin or whatever looks the way it's supposed to look. I almost have a weird idea that maybe we'll see things um, akin to like looking in a mirror. And what I mean by that is not being able to hide. So, no more masks. We know masks were a big thing in the last video game. And so, it would be really interesting if, you know, like for Fragile, for instance, if she couldn't hide the fact that that had happened to her, if this touches her, like she will just look a certain way. And it might even be interesting to find out, so if you're encased in that sort of tar, do you age forward, do you age backwards? If it's supposed to be healing because it's made of amino acids, then I don't understand why it's so damaging to Fragile. Then again, because it's from this other world, it's very possible that Fragile's body and how it was affected by Timefall, maybe it's just bringing back to the surface the damage or like the death caused by the Timefall in the first place, which would be those kind of dead skin cells. So I don't really know. There's so much that could be going on here, but at least in the next clip, we do see that, unlike Timefall, this does appear to affect more than one layer. And I actually think that makes perfect sense. We see a lot of these jackets being worn that say level 9. We see one on Hartman. And I actually think it just means the level of timefall resistance. And we might need more powerful gear in this game if the tar is more powerful, which I think it's safe to say that there's a lot going on in this game. The fact that things are much stronger now, the contamination is much worse. So it would make sense if it was more powerful and able to age you more. And we may not even be seeing Fragile Skin revert to a prior stage because we know that she's healed now. What may actually be happening is that she, poor girl, is being aged again because this is just such a crappy situation, and she wasn't prepared for this timefall to hit her hands. This might also be a good argument for why Higgs is wearing so much clothing. He's wearing armor, he's wearing latex, he's wearing leather, he's wearing like vacuum sealed compressed boots and gloves. And it might be because he's still affected by this tar and such. And he's always said that he doesn't care for his face. So that may be the reason that he's showing his face and not protecting it or having it under wraps in any way. Maybe that's why Red Samurai is so fully covered. If it is so dangerous to touch the tar, then chances are you would want to have everything completely covered that you don't want to age prematurely. I think this is really um, neat because it reminds me of in Death Stranding 1, one of the first things that we see is a body go necro, and basically it starts shaking, it becomes antimatter, it gets a gold dusting over where the face is and forms like a golden skull. And I mean, I feel like this is implying that she died or crossed over, something to that effect. But like perhaps this cocoon keeps her from dying, going necro, allows her to heal rather than, pass on. And I always want to bring up that Higgs is famously known for his golden death mask. That was kind of how he got started with, like when his uncle was murdered, and he's got a golden death mask, and they call him King Midas, and there's a whole lot of like golden metaphors to it. But the thing about King Midas that I always talk about is that he had a daughter that he loved so much, and after he basically made this wish or was granted this power, he was unable to eat and he was unable to touch anything, and basically he was unable to hold his daughter or anything like that. And I just think that could be a really interesting parallel. I don't know that anything will come of it, but I do know that they specifically called it a death mask and kind of likened Higgs to King Midas in the first game. If you can break fate and prove it wrong. There's not much to say here. There's not a lot going on here. There's just like this kind of half-baked model of Fragile. But I did want to point out this dude is crazy. He has put on a metal, like, I don't even know what you would call it. Like, he has literally made it to where he can just like attach a tool to his arm. And when I thought he was doing this the first time, I thought it was just like a regular prosthetic. But no, it is like straight up. He has like attached a metal connecting thing to his arm. Hardcore. I also noticed he has like a string coming out of his hand, which I don't know. I just thought was kind of funny. I thought, like, what if Dollman just rides like along? It's just like on a bracelet. But it does bring up a good question, like, what is that? Well, I've not noticed that before. I've not seen that. If you've noticed it and you know what that could be, let me know. But it doesn't seem to match Fragile's bracelet. It doesn't seem to match anything that we've seen so far. And I don't think it's just a tie on his rain jacket, but it might be. So I think the coolest thing that Death Stranding has really done for me is get me really interested in like phenomena that, while I might know a little bit about it, I don't know very much, or I don't know the scientific background. And so making these videos has really made me dig deep into things that never really occurred to me before. I know about the moon in terms of how it affects waves and how it has gravitational pull and things like that, but I never considered that the moon would look differently outside of my hemisphere. And I don't know, I guess I just don't look at the moon enough. And that was something that you guys pointed out in my comments a while ago, is that we're seeing the moon from the southern hemisphere. And some of you were kind of like, it's upside down. And obviously I have never paid attention to the moon because I didn't notice a thing. I had no idea that it looked different than normal. So, um, I think we should take that into consideration, and I just wanted to show you guys kind of where we might be at. So now that we know that this is the southern hemisphere that he is in, we know that he has to be in South America, Africa, or Australia. Those would be the three that this would appear correctly in, unless we are seeing something where whenever an area has high contamination, for some reason, maybe he sees like the opposite of where he's at. Like maybe if he goes into, let's say, one of those high frequency areas and he gets sucked into the tar or the tar currents, it's possible he's still in Mexico, but he has now flipped because we know the beach is sort of like the reversal, or I don't even know if I'd say reversal, but it's supposed to be like the mirror image of us. So it would be kind of neat if when we go to the beach, things are mirrored, like even the moon would be mirrored. Here's something else that I was kind of thinking of. This hand that I thought was maybe Amelie shutting down her beach because there's an explosion behind it. It could also be this weird sky thing. They have similar colors. They both appear to be sort of explosions. However, that's probably not the case. I think this is something of a supernova or um, a dying star. I think it could also just be um, like literally we're able to see like a, what do you call those? They're not gas giants, but sort of like a galaxy. The thing that I'm most drawn towards is that this is kind of an aurora borealis sort of thing. We were already able to see the northern lights in part of the trailer, and I think it wouldn't be far fetched to think this might just be an extreme version. From my understanding, the northern lights come from solar flares interacting with the magnetic field on Earth, and so it appears as like these different lights. And I think that that could totally be what we're seeing here when you think about the fact that we have all this chiral matter and that there are areas that are deeply contaminated and it's changing literally the areas. That's what's implied in the trailer, that it's actually changing the way that the world is working. So maybe it just happens that in this area it is so um, contaminated that we're able to see like this dramatic version of the northern lights. I definitely feel like this is pretty interesting. We're still in the southern hemisphere in that shot, but then I think we still have BTs. These to me feel like our old fashioned BTs from the first game, so that's fun that we might still have that enemy around, something familiar. We also have this crazy enemy, which at first I didn't realize how large it was, but it actually grabs Sam, and its hand is the size of his torso. That seems very dangerous. And I'm thinking, are these like the new catchers? Is this going to drag us to something worse? I think it's worth noting also that we can see loose pods, so that's something we're not always sure if we have the pod on or not in these dark clips, but we can definitely see loose pod, and we can see Doll Man, who is cracking me up because look at, he's just like the epitome of like smiling through the pain. He's just like, I'm here. I might die, but I'm here. We get our first look at sort of like the metro system outside of the road building mechanics, and I think that's really awesome because we know in like the United States literally there's hardly, first of all, there's hardly any trains. Secondly, like they don't even want buses in the cities, and so there's like no tram or anything like that really. But I like the idea that this is again some more environmental storytelling. This is way more um like industrialized. like I was gonna say factoryized. This is way more industrialized than the UCA that we saw. They're shipping freight. They have like systems in place that are carrying supplies back and forth. The UCA didn't have that, and I don't think they would have it in just 11 months. And I don't know if this tram was built on the chiral network or not. If it wasn't, kudos to whatever country we're in right now, because they actually have a way to get supplies to their cities without just porters. And I think that's really important because it shows that they have something going on. Like they have some sort of uh, maybe not governmental agency, but they've got something more well rounded and put together than what the UCA had, because the UCA had nothing. When you think about what Sam was going through, it was like nobody existed. There were hardly any preppers still alive, which again, I know that technically the Death Stranding happened in America, so maybe we just got like the worst of it, and that's why we see so much damage and we've lost like our infrastructure. But I do like that they're showing us that other countries seem to have an infrastructure and a setup. I also noticed that there is no pod on him in this setting. I think it's funny because I'm always like, I don't know if there's any other spots where he didn't wear a pod, and then I always find more clips where he's not wearing a pod. I really don't understand why he wouldn't be wearing one, or if these clips are out of order and I'm still not on the right track for a timeline, but who knows? We know so far that he wasn't wearing his pod when he went through the black tar pit, and he's not wearing it in this tram photo either. But he does have Dahlman on, so I don't know. He also seems to have fancy gloves, fancier than what he has previously been shown wearing. They glow green. I'm not sure if that means anything. His skeleton also appears to be glowing like a green color, so maybe that's just what happens when he catches a ride on the tram. Maybe he's charging. It may recharge his batteries or something like that. I also noticed there's a little bit of text on this train, like TYP is on it. Don't know what that means. It must just be a shipping company, but it would be interesting if it has something, that we haven't seen before. Maybe this is a company that is in charge of manufacturing. Maybe it's in charge of foods. But TYP sounds like type, so we have seen Type 7 jackets. I don't think they're connected, but they could be. You never know. This appears to be in the same area, but we have what I assume is the new zipline system set up, and the like electric stick javelin that we have that we see him throwing at mules in one of the clips appears to also work as a way for us to ride like this chiral zip line. So I'm not sure which will come first. It really appears like the trams are physically made, whereas this thing that we're riding on in this clip appears to be part of the chiral network. So it may be that we're able to not only first ride along on kind of a predetermined path with the infrastructure already set up, and then later be able to make our own path with the chiral network. We can also see in the background a city, what looks kind of like a distro, and I'm not sure if this is the same area that we've already seen. It's kind of difficult to tell, but we're definitely in some sort of city area. It also kind of looked like we were close to maybe an ocean. So this could be the very first area, like where we met the porter from not the porter, the prepper from the trailer. And it may be that, and maybe this is just after we've expanded on it. I'm curious about the white light coming off the distro. I'm thinking maybe we'll have some sort of homing beacon. It reminds me of like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, where you could look through your telescope and click a far off thing, and you would get kind of like a glowing beacon that you could go towards. And I think that could be a fun extra. We already have a camera function, so it would be nice to be able to kind of set a goal to work towards, because I definitely got turned around at the beginning of Death Stranding before I knew the map, and I would get so ticked when I'd figure out I had walked back like the wrong direction. I had went totally the opposite way I needed to. this is the last part that we're going to cover today, and it's just the wildfires. I don't have a lot to say about this. You can't see anything, there's really nothing to be seen. He's in a shrub area, it's on fire. He has the same outfit that we've seen him in, and he appears to have Dahlman with him. So I'm not sure what area this could be, or how soon or how late this could be. It's definitely a difficult to see clip. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna continue the trailer, and I'm so excited. We're so close to Death Stranding 2, and I am considering trying to stream it. I have been looking up instructions, so thank you for commenting that I should stream. We'll see if I do or not. I actually need to go put down my cash to buy Death Stranding. I was gonna do the collector's edition, but I just hated that it didn't come with a physical copy of the game. So I decided that I would rather wait and just try to avoid spoilers as best I could. Until I see you in the next video, bye!